It's another beautiful night in Orlando. You can't beat Orlando late summer for heat stroke. Hey guys, late Orlando as I mentioned, and school starts in a couple days. The wife and kids have all left to go meet with sister-in-law and brother-in-law and their kids, and left me alone to do a little grilling. Thought it might be a good time to chat a little bit. I've had a couple of people ask me why I turned away from Disney so much the last few weeks. Disney's good for views, no way around it. And I actually love going to the theme parks. But about a month ago, I swore off doing Orlando theme park vlogs. And like I said, there's been a few people who have asked why I would give that up. If it's something I have against the parks, if I have something against the people. And I figured while everyone's gone, it might be a good time to kind of delve into that and clarify a few things. Little background on yours truly. I've been here in Orlando for the better part of 6 years. It'll be 6 years come November. And Disney plays a part in why I came here to begin with. There's no way around it. Disney built Orlando, or at least the Orlando that most people out of town see or think about when they're talking about Orlando. Before Walt bought this big parcel of land south of Orlando in what is now Lake Buena Vista, the biggest area around here wasn't downtown Orlando. Downtown Orlando was like the number 2. Sanford, Florida was the big area of Central Florida. And when Walt bought Orlando, he specifically did that because there was already all these highways running back and forth, but it was still wild enough that he could buy the land cheaply around the theme park to kind of keep everybody out from his dream. If you've been to California's Disneyland before, you know that Disneyland Park, you look over the berm and you can see, you know, McDonald's signs and hotels and all this other stuff. And they've done a pretty good job of trying to put trees up around the berm to hide it a little bit. But it's there, and Disney did not want to have that happen again. So, you know, Walt comes to Orlando, and the weather's great. He can keep the parks open all year long, and tourists coming in and out, just kind of like in Southern California, although the weather is warmer here, obviously, and a little wetter. But it's a great tourist area. There's already people coming to and from, but it isn't developed, so he's got the privacy and the space to build that he's always wanted. And most of you have already heard this story before of how it all came to be. But Orlando itself is not where Disney is. Disney's just near Orlando. Orlando itself is miles to the north of the Disney property. And it's actually a really cool city, but it's not the city that most people think of. Temperature's just rounding 250, so I think we got time to chat a little bit longer. So Disney World opens in the early 1970s, and I make it to the scene of Earth in the late 70s, and I don't make it to Disney with my parents probably until 1982 or 83, and immediately it becomes the center of my young world, because there is no higher calling than making your way to and from Disneyland when you're a child. So for years, I would end up traveling to Disney World with my parents, and then later on my younger brother, because A, they'd take me on trips, and B, my father was in the trade show business, so we'd spend a lot of time down here for the trade shows that come to this area, and still do come to this area. It was huge. Anytime that Disney popped up, I mean, it was like Christmas every single time, and I loved it. And that kept going all the way through my teenage years and into my early adulthood, when I started in the trade show business, and I started coming down here all the time myself. Uh-oh, looks like I lost one of the command strips. Gonna have to fix that sooner than later. So, I'm young married man, take my wife to Disney for our honeymoon, and she falls in love with it too. And within a couple of years of that, my son makes an appearance, and as any Disney fan could tell you, one of the greatest things that you think about is how you're going to pass that love on to the next generation. In this case, my son, We brought him down here when he was about 1.5 years old, and he fell in love with it immediately too. And about 2 years old, we realized that Cleveland, where we're from, isn't doing him any favors. His lungs are giving him trouble because Cleveland, the temperature can bounce between 30 degrees and 70 degrees literally in 24 hours, and it's usually pretty humid. And as a youngster, he starts having some, I won't call them pneumonia, but pneumonia-like problems from the bouncing temperature. And my wife and I finally say, why don't we move to Orlando? Not just for Disney, but because the weather's great and trade show industry, hey, that's perfect for what I do, at least. Coincidentally, right about then, my wife loses her job when it's bought by a conglomerate that is outsourcing everything to India. So all the pieces fall into place, and we get up and we leave Cleveland, and we land here in Orlando. Now, a lot has happened since we got to Orlando. We've got a second child now. My son is 7. That job that I came for went away. Another job took its place. My wife has got a great job. Things are going pretty well. And we're still annual pass holders 6 years later. And while we still love it, I'll be the first to say there are certain things that have lost its sheen. One of which being that, unfortunately, when you can go anytime, it does kind of take away that special treat aspect of it. Jerk chicken, in case you were wondering. That's what we're going to put out there. Jerk chicken. So we still love it. We're still going, but nowhere near as often as the first year or two that we were here, because, you know, crowds are crazy. Crowds are getting crazier too, by the way. I don't know if anyone knew this, but the crowds at Disney are getting more and more insane because there's less and less to do while they're redoing a lot of the lands at Epcot and at Hollywood Studios. So all those people need to go somewhere, and they're all going pretty much the same 3 or 4 places. Next thing you know, old Uncle Ryan starts doing the whole vlogging thing, and inspired by certain other vloggers, you know, Adam the Woo, obviously. You know, anyone who's watched this channel before knows there's an influence there. Justin Scard, but also influenced a lot by the walkthrough videos by these people that they're not big name vloggers. In fact, they're not really vloggers. They're just people who are out on their vacation and they film things and they stick it up on video on YouTube because they want to have a copy of this so they can go back and relive their walkthroughs. And honestly, I spent a lot of time watching those. And I'm not just talking about Disney, I'm talking about all over the place. Savannah, Key West, Charleston, South Carolina, Hollywood, California, San Francisco, any place that there's a lot of history and there's a lot to see. I start watching all these videos of these people just going through and showing all the cool things that they're coming across. And like I said, most of them are not real vloggers. So most of them aren't talking, they're just, you know, shooting. And I start falling in love with that format. So when I start vlogging, I start incorporating some of that stuff. Some of the stuff from the vloggers that I mentioned, some of the point and shoot tours, and also start trying to add in my own brand of comedy, if you will, take it as you will, because my background before I started in trade shows was radio. I was in major market radio for several years, and I used to be a copywriter. I used to be on air, and I used to do a little bit of some more professional comedy type stuff, and didn't have a real outlet for that over the last several years. So I started incorporating some of that stuff too into my vlogging, and it's turned into what the Sploring channel is. Alright, up to 300. I gotta wait till it gets up to about 400 before I even think about getting stuff on here. So, I vlogged for 2.5 years, but really in the last year or so, I started taking it a lot more seriously and putting a little bit more science behind it, and I started meeting some really good people who have become friends over the last couple of years. And we're vlogging Orlando and other areas, and I actually get to vlog with and become friends with some of the people who influenced me, which was awesome. and I'm going to Disney, and I'm filming what I love, and they're filming what they love, and it's all hunky-dory, except not really. You see, I'm not a Disney vlogger. I was vlogging Disney for two things, because I love it myself, and because it gives you views. People are searching for Disney videos, and if you put Disney videos out, you're going to get views, and you're going to get subscribers, for the most part. But as I said, I'm not a Disney vlogger, and I have love for what Disney was. I love Disney of the 80s, of the 70s, and, you know, most of the 90s. I still love Disneyland, and I still love what Walt did and what Walt built, for the sheer magnitude of his dream. But Disney over the last several years has started to change quite a bit. You see, the Disney that I fell in love with was Walt's Disney. It was Pirates of the Caribbean. It was the Haunted Mansion. It was Space Mountain. It was Thunder Mountain. To a degree, I mean, it was Snow White's Scary Adventures and Mr. Toad. But over the last, I don't know, I'll call it 15 years or so, it started to change quite a bit. Most of those rides are still around, at least in some form, but a lot of the stuff that I grew up with started to come down and be replaced. And some of the rides that they put in have been of good quality, but they're all IP. They're all intellectual property rides. Frozen, taking out Maelstrom in Norway, the whole Toy Story Land. Heck, if you go to MGM Studios, that's what I will always call it, Hollywood Studios now, some of the stuff was intellectual property back then too, but now it's being replaced with pure Disney intellectual properties. And it's... none of that stuff really grabs me. It's not my Disney. So I start kind of drifting away a little bit. And again, I'm not knocking it, but there's a break there. Now I'm about 40 years old here in 2018. I will be 40 years old in a couple months. I'm a Gen X guy, and what you're seeing right now is a Disney that appeals more to millennials and generations below that. Obviously, baby boomers, this is well past their Disney. So we see a new round of vloggers, especially in the last year or so. I'm going to actually say 10-ish months. A huge glut of vloggers come forward, and these guys are good. There's people like Paging Mr. Morrow, Bob and Ashley, Panda Flow, Theme Park Brews. I can just Spokesman. I can just keep going and going, but you know the ones I'm talking about. And these guys are good, and what makes them so good is that they have a passion for this whole thing, a passion that I lack. So this new group of vloggers, for the most part, they're spending every day or every other day, call it, going to the Disney parks and documenting the experience. It's not just the parks either. You know, they're Disney Springs, the hotels, all that kind of stuff. Just Disney property. Sometimes going off to Universal or SeaWorld, but you know, Disney is definitely the main focus of it. Their whole personas are wrapped up in what Disney stands for: the magic, the dream, the hope, and all that kind of stuff. And they're really into the IP. I mean, they love the fact that Toy Story Land is there. They love the fact that you know, the Winnie the Pooh ride is there now. They love all the Disney sayings. They've got the merchandise. They're going to the character warehouse stores and all that kind of stuff. They love the merchandise. They love what Disney is right now, and they're doing a great job of getting out there and showing all these other people at home who also love what Disney is. In the meantime, I'm falling away from it because I think they're great. Some of them have become good friends, but I don't have the passion that they do for it. So about 3 months ago, I realized something. I realized that every time that I go to the parks, be it with my family or with my friends or by myself, I feel obligated to pull my phone out and to start filming. Filming the same thing that I've already filmed a dozen times before. Filming the same stuff that some of these other vloggers are doing a much better job of vlogging. And I don't really care about any of it. It's filming for the sake of filming. There's no passion. There's no art. There's no reason for it. There we go. What's worse, I'm seeing some territorial fights break out over who is and who supposedly isn't allowed to film and vlog which parts of Disney on any given day. And I'm watching that, and my passion for it is sinking out of it. And I was never really focused on Disney anyways. It was just something I would do out of habit. And I started realizing something. My passion for doing this channel at all has started to slide off, because I don't think I'm putting out good quality content, and I don't want to be associated with some of the craziness that's going on. So I start backing away altogether. Now I'm not to the point where some of the other vloggers are, where they're talking about stopping their channels altogether, but I'm going weeks and weeks and weeks without uploading anything. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And then it finally strikes me one day. I've got a whole bunch of places in Orlando that I love, that I never give a chance. I never really give. So I slow down on uploading. I'll go 2 or 3 weeks at a time without uploading anything. And I start getting irritated when I see other people out vlogging. Why should I care? Why should it make me upset? Stupid, right? And then finally one day I realize, just go out and do some little things. Don't try to get subscribers. Don't try to get views. Don't try to put the content out there that people are looking for. Just show a different part of Orlando, the Orlando that you've fallen in love with since being here. That's what I started doing. So I put up a review of Hot Dog Heaven, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a hot dog joint here in Orlando. Completely different than what I usually do. It's nothing grandiose. It's actually very small. It's just me going in, looking at the menu, talking about the restaurant, giving a little bit of history, and taste testing a couple of hot dogs. A couple days later, I put up a video. It was 2 or 3 days afterwards. One of the Idiot Explorers things in Epcot. And I had to force myself to do that. Why am I doing this? Start putting up other videos that aren't Disney related. The one from the Pinball Hall of Fame, the one from the Black Hammock, which is the most alligator-infested body of water in the country. They're disputed, but... And I started having a lot more fun with those things because nobody's doing those things. I'm not going through the motions. I'm actually showing cool stuff that I love, that other people aren't doing, or at least not doing 1,000 times better than I already am. And the passion starts to creep back in. I'm like, Eureka! I figured it out. And by the way, I wish you could smell this. It's fantastic. I haven't lost my passion for vlogging. I've lost my passion for being a tiny fish in a huge pond. There are so many people out there right now, a lot of whom I respect a lot, who are doing Disney so much better than I could, because my Disney's gone. I still like this Disney, but I don't have the passion to go out there and explore it and show it to you guys and do it justice. But what I do still have a passion for is the vlogging itself, the things that brought me to it to begin with, showing cool things that you can't necessarily find easily on your own, taking people to places that they can't either afford to go to or don't have the time to go to, places they don't know exist, and showing those places. adding some comedy, taking some chances, and just putting a little bit more art into it. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. So I put a video up announcing that I'm pretty much done with Disney vlogging. Theme park vlogging in general, Orlando theme parks. It's in good hands. You know, nobody really needs me to jump on it, and I don't really feel the need to do it. It was, like I said, a sense of obligation near the end, which means that I can go back to the parks, and I can do it and fully enjoy my time there without feeling like I need to be vlogging. I can turn it over to people who I respect and are doing a damn good job of it, and get out there and use that time instead to show some other cool stuff that I've been wanting to do for a while. And in the last month and a half, I've done some of those things. The Hunt for Master Legend was a piece that I'm more proud of than almost anything I've ever done before on the vlogging level. You know, we've got some of the stuff up now from Pigeon Forge in Gatlinburg, where I met some great people, saw some new stuff. That was a lot of fun. Showing things like the Orlando East End Market. That's a great place, and most people don't even know it exists. So these are the types of vlogs that I'm trying to do more of. Now, there will, of course, be the occasional, I don't want to say subscriber grab vlogs, but the bigger vlogs that, let's call a spade a spade. At some point I will be vlogging at Disney again if there is a huge event going on, or I've got friends in town that I'm going with. If some of the bigger name vloggers are going to be out doing something, and I happen to be part of that crowd that day, yeah, I'll probably end up vlogging it. I'd like to say that I won't, but I probably will. If I'm out there filming, it won't just be to film something out of obligation or throw something up. It's going to be because there's some sort of real reason to get out there. And I'm looking forward to continuing what I've been doing the last month and a half. And you know what the funny thing is? My views are actually going up the more I do these things that I was always afraid to do before, because I didn't think anybody would want to watch those types of videos. And I'm starting to get subscribers at a higher rate from people who are saying, hey, I just found you because, you know, I was looking for this or looking for that, something completely out of the range of what I was doing before. And they're saying that they like the content. And people who have been with me for a while are saying that this is the kind of content they want to see from me. You know, they've got other choices for Disney and for theme parks all the time. They want to see some of the other stuff that we're showing lately. And you have no idea how much I appreciate that. It's something that I started doing out of a passion play for my own sanity. And to see that it's connecting with people is huge. I'm beyond grateful. So that's about it. You know, no animosity towards anybody. Like I said, there's some great vloggers out there right now that are doing the type of content that I'm kind of swearing off, and I don't want them to think that I'm looking down on them or that I don't like what they're doing, because I do. I'm bowing out of deference to them. They've got it covered. They don't need one more person doing that same type of content, especially somebody who doesn't have the passion like they do. So, you know, more power to them. I wish them well. They're doing fantastic. There are some up-and-coming people right now, like Tampa J and Super Enthused, people who have already kind of gotten over that initial hump and are still moving, like Negro Orlando, of course, that are going to keep on going out there. And I wouldn't call those people Disney vloggers, but they're definitely more heavily influenced by the Disney phenomenon than I am. And go subscribe to them. They're great. If you love that content, do it. They're great. But for me, it's going to be different content, like what you've seen the last month and a half, 2 months. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope this kind of explains a little bit as to what all has changed. Looks like we're getting there. So if you've been around for a while, big thanks for sticking with me. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you've seen, and if you're one of the people that's been wondering what's going on, that's what's going on. There is a subscribe button below. I don't usually do these rants. Usually it's the kind of content you'll see in the little sidebar below it. But if you feel so inclined, I definitely appreciate having you stick around by clicking that subscribe button and then hitting the bell. There's two clicks you got to do. You got to hit the bell and then hit it again. The first bell will make it turn a different color, usually blue, I believe, and the second color will the second click will make it look like it's vibrating, and that will alert you when new content is up. And this isn't a Splorin', but we will see you next time when we do some Splorin'.